You know, every building has a story to tell, but sometimes those stories are hidden. They're written in these little whispers, right? Like water stains or tiny little cracks. So today, we're going to put on our detective hats and solve a real mystery that's happening deep down in a building's foundation. What if it was trying to tell you something was really, really wrong? Well, for the residents of the Ignis Cooperative Housing Society, their building started sending out some very clear and pretty concerning signals. It all started pretty subtly, way down in the basement. Just patches of dampness appearing on the concrete walls, almost like the building was starting to sweat. And then this happened. On the outside, a jagged crack showed up along the retaining wall. This was a huge clue that the problem wasn't just skin deep. And finally, this. Exposed, decaying concrete. Signs of corrosion. Yeah, the building wasn't just sending signals anymore. It was practically screaming for help. So when your building is sending out an SOS, who you gonna call? You call in the experts, of course. The structural detectives who can follow the clues and figure out what's really going on. So, the society brought in their own team of investigators. Technity engineers and consultants. Their mission? To conduct a full structural audit and get to the bottom of what was happening beneath the surface. Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. Let's look at their mission brief. The target was the basement, and the reason was all sorts of leakage issues. But look at that constraint. No detailed structural drawings. That means the engineers had to rely on good old-fashioned detective work, a really thorough visual inspection. They were essentially working without a map. And you know what? That visual inspection turned up a mountain of evidence. So let's follow the trail of clues they found in the building's underworld, the basement. The first major finding was crystal clear. The problem wasn't starting inside the basement. Nope. The enemy was attacking from the outside. Water was infiltrating the whole structure. And this just shows you the connection perfectly. On the left, you see that external crack in the retaining wall we saw a minute ago. And on the right, that's the direct result inside the basement. Water stains and active leaks. It's a straight-up pathway for water to just march right in. But the detectives found another point of entry. The expansion joints, which are, designed to let a building move and flex safely, had become serious weak spots. You can see right here there's significant leakage and corrosion all along those joints. Another huge vulnerability. So we know what is happening. Water's getting in. But the bigger question is, why? What is this water actually doing to the very bones of the building? To get that, we need to look at some invisible enemies at play here. See, this isn't just a story about water. It's a story about chemistry. It's a slow, silent chemical reaction that's attacking the building from the inside out. Okay, think of it like this. Healthy concrete has a really high alkalinity, and that acts like a bodyguard, right? It forms this protective layer around the steel reinforcement bars inside. But its mortal enemy, carbon dioxide from the air, sneaks in and totally neutralizes that bodyguard, leaving the steel completely exposed and defenseless. And this whole process has a name. It's called carbonation. This is the key chemical reaction that turns a strong, durable structure into a really vulnerable one. CO2 gets in, lowers the pH, and just strips away the steel's natural defense mechanism. So this is how it all goes down. It's basically a four-step attack. First, you've got CO2 and water seeping into the concrete's pores. Step 2, that's the depassivation, a fancy word for the carbonation process completely knocking out that protective layer around the steel. Then, in Step 3, oxygen and water have a wide-open invitation to attack the now defenseless steel. And finally, Step 4, corrosion. The steel starts to rust, it expands, and it literally cracks the concrete from the inside out, a total disaster. And as the engineers themselves point out in their report, and this is a direct quote, it's not even constant wetness that's the biggest issue. It's the cycle of wetting and drying. That intermittent exposure creates the absolute perfect storm for this kind of corrosion to really take hold and spread like wildfire. So with the investigation done and the culprits identified, the report was delivered. But hey, a report is just paper, right? The next step needed action. And it needed it from the people who actually called this building home. And here it is, the call to action, a notice for a special general meeting. This is that moment where all the technical findings from the report have to be translated into a real community decision.
The notice lays it all out pretty clearly. A special general meeting for all members, happening on Sunday, February 8th at 10:30 a.m. in the party hall. The time for just talking about it is over. It's time for a verdict. And just look at what's at the very top of the agenda. Item number 1, selection of contractor for podium repair work. This isn't just some routine maintenance meeting. This is the direct response to everything that structural audit uncovered. And that's really the final crucial link in our story. The weeping walls, the cracks, the science of carbonation, it all leads directly to this single moment, where the community has to come together and choose a path forward to heal their building.
So the case of the weeping walls really shows us that our buildings are always communicating with us. They're telling us stories of stress and age and attack from the environment. The only question is, are we paying close enough attention to hear what they're trying to say?